Gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Evans, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, of course, to the ranking member and, of course, to all of our witnesses for taking the time to come to this important hearing that's particularly meaningful to me because I was a cop for 10 years in the Denver metro area, the only Latino in the Colorado delegation right now. And the reason I'm in Congress is because in 2020, the ruling Democrats in Colorado passed a bill that took the first steps toward defunding law enforcement and toward making cops guilty until they proved themselves innocent by enshrining into law the concept that anything not captured on a body cam could be interpreted by the courts as misconduct, which was allowed to be presumed against the cops until the officers proved themselves innocent. I ran our riot squad. I was in charge of our riot squad in 2020 when Denver, Colorado suffered the most violent riots in the country as evaluated by the Major Cities Chiefs of Police Association, and not a peep from the ruling Democrats in my state of Colorado. I've buried 2 colleagues in my agency. Gordon Beasley, who was assassinated by an individual who was radicalized against law enforcement by anti-police rhetoric from elected leaders, shot in the back of the head, murdered. It's on video. The killing part is redacted on most of the publicly available stuff. I buried Gordon Beasley, a school resource officer whose motto was find the good in everything. I buried Dylan Vakoff, one of my friends who was in my riot squad at my agency, gunned down responding to a family disturbance call, Air Force veteran. I watched my cops suffer these. I buried countless others when I was on the honor guard. And in terms of refusing to condemn physical or political violence, I will remind everyone of 2 votes that happened earlier this year where every single member of the United States House of Representatives voted to condemn the murder of a Democrat leader in Minnesota, but 118 of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle could not vote to condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk. When cops are handcuffed, when political rhetoric incites violence, it's the cops who suffer. And not only is it the cops who suffer, it's the low income and the minority communities that suffer. In Colorado, $27 billion of lost economic productivity as a result of crime. That doesn't impact the wealthy people, that impacts low income and minority communities. My district is 40% Hispanic. You know who suffers when we don't have law enforcement to keep our communities safe? It's my low income and my minority communities. I have a bunch of skilled tradesmen in my district, plumbers, electricians, pipe fitters, welders. Colorado has led the nation more years than not the last 5 years in auto theft. You know what happens when one of my Hispanic trade workers gets their vehicle stolen? Not only are they out of vehicle, they've lost their job because they can't show up to the job site tomorrow to do the work. The general contractor's not gonna wait for them. I've seen this happen because I've taken those reports. We just had the 6th largest fentanyl seizure in US history in Colorado. 12 kilograms of fentanyl, 1.7 million illicit pills, enough to kill 6.8 million people, every man, woman, and child in Colorado. And it is because of the defund the police and sanctuary city style politics that I personally experienced as a law enforcement officer in Colorado. It's why I'm in Congress today. And lest we forget, every 15 days under the previous administration, more Americans died as a result of drug overdoses like fentanyl than were killed in the entire September 11th terrorist attacks. And that's personal to me too, because I am a combat veteran of the global war on terror. I deployed to protect this country, and to turn around and to see these cartels and these criminals and these peddlers of poison being able to run willy-nilly free in our communities because of defund the police rhetoric and because of sanctuary city and state policies is absolutely onerous to me, and it's onerous to my communities. It's onerous to the people that I have sworn oaths to uphold, to protect and defend as I uphold the Constitution. We know the impacts on law enforcement officers that all of this has. Cops experience their first heart attack at the age of 46. The average American experiences their first heart attack at the age of 65. Cops experience the physical, mental, moral, and emotional injuries of this job, and all of those things are made worse as a result of anti-law enforcement rhetoric. I got 44 seconds left. Mr. Yos with the FOP. I was a dues-paying member of the Fraternal Order of Police for 10 years, the rank and file, the union that represents rank and file law enforcement officers. Can you speak to the physical, mental, and moral injuries that cops suffer when law enforcement is villainized in the media and by elected leaders? 26 seconds.
You know, I had somebody make a comment to, I wish I'd thought of this, but I had somebody make a comment to me once before. It said it's difficult to defend humanity without losing a little of your own. If you're not grounded, if you don't have the resources necessary to keep you grounded, then it's going to impact. And we see it. We see it happening all across this country where law enforcement officers have to deal with things that most people would like to think don't exist and somehow think that they can sniff their badge and it doesn't affect them. We're human beings. We're just average people asked to do occasionally some extraordinary things, and it has its toll on law enforcement. There's no question. So when you compound all of this together, it makes our job more and more difficult. And so you could see we lose more officers. We talk about how many officers we lost. That's why we're here. We lose more officers every year by their own hands than we do to police action. And that's the reality of it. That's where we live, and we need to recognize that we're damaging people. When we damage someone in the protection of communities, we have a moral and fiduciary responsibility to fix them.
I could go all day, but we're out of time. Yield back.
Thank you.